Hi everybody, welcome back to the Cabinets HR weekly live stream. I'm Daniella Young. I'm an author, a TEDx speaker, and an Army combat veteran. I'm also the co-founder of Cabinets HR, which is a virtual HR company. Once a week on Tuesdays at 12:30 PST, 2:30 Central, I have written a blog post that is sort of a deep dive feature into something to do with culture regarding the workplace, and then I have discussion. This is streamed out on all kinds of social media channels, and you're welcome to chat with us, argue with us, or reach out in any way. Today and the first Tuesday of every month, I like to do a book review. I know everyone doesn't have time to read every book that's out there. Estimates have it that there's one leadership book published every minute in English. And so sometimes I take the good ones that I've read and I talk about them, and then you can decide whether you want to read it or not. So today I'm going to talk about Emily Chang's book. It's called Brotopia. Brotopia, Breaking Up the Boys Club of Silicon Valley. And it is a really, really good book about women's experience in tech, how tech created their own pipeline problem that they're dealing with today with their lack of diversity, and how this idea of a meritocracy is toxic. Meritocracy explained as this word that is used ubiquitously in the tech field and in many other fields when explaining why more women aren't present, saying that we only hire based on talent, not based on diversity or any other concerns. The problem with this idea is that it presupposes that everyone begins on a level playing field, and we know that that's just not true. Everyone is starting off with different challenges in different places in life. So I was standing in line waiting to see Miss Chang give a talk at a private company event, and I was like pleasantly surprised to see lots of men in line, and for this, book written by a woman about women's experience, it was really cool. But then I saw this group of four dudes walked up and grabbed their books, and they read the title and they said, well, what's wrong with the boys club anyways? And even though I was a little disappointed, I wasn't that surprised. I've run into this a lot of times as a female veteran when talking about how my experience was different than male veterans' experience. And sometimes people just do not understand until they stop to think about it, that their experience could have been so different from someone else's experience and what they think is the same thing. So, one of the reasons I decided to focus today's book review on how I did was that comment that I heard, and it's why men should all read this book, Brotopia. So 5 reasons. So the first reason is understanding that you have privilege, and many of us have some kind of privilege. If you're watching this on video, you can see that I am extraordinarily white. I obviously benefit a lot from white privilege. And the problem with privilege, or the word privilege, is it's so politically fraught these days. You almost can't have a conversation about it. And some people really honestly seem to believe that when you say privilege, you mean that they've never struggled in their lives. And if you guys have followed me in the past, you know that, of course, I don't agree with that. I have struggled a lot in my life. I grew up in a religious cult. I escaped at 15. I came to America. I started everything on my own, and I have worked very, very hard for any kind of success or career that I've had today. However, I still am aware that I have not been discriminated against for the color of my skin. So I do have this one kind of privilege. Privilege is the idea that if one group is benefiting, another group is by definition disadvantaged. And there's a lot of different things that you can read or see about that. There's a really good documentary right now on Netflix by Chelsea Handler about white privilege, which is fantastic. And the other thing is that privilege doesn't stack or rank or cancel each other out. If I'm working with a Black man, he has had male privilege, I've had white privilege. We've both had different experiences, different challenges. And the best thing we can do is just listen to each other's experiences. And this book is great because she's telling stories. Part number 2 is getting to see how your privilege hurts others. And that's, again, that concept of when one group is privileged, the other group is disprivileged or at a disadvantage. And the more we try to even things out, the better it is. As much as women wanted and experienced a lot of early successes in technology, turns out that bro culture was just too hard to keep up, and women leave the tech field at much higher rates than almost any other professional field. And this privilege and the harmfulness of the privilege really also extended into the venture capital world, where a lot of these are white males from the same generation. They went to the same schools. They admit that they hire all their buddies, build their companies, make their billions, and then don't necessarily want to turn around and invest in women or other people that are not just like them. Your reason number 3 is learning what exactly is wrong with a boys' club, which was the initial question. And there's a lot of examples in the book, but in a very interesting chapter called Sex and the Valley, she actually talks about these sex parties that have cropped up in San Francisco, using it as a way to show what can be, in sort of the worst cases, the most wrong with the boys' club. She talks about how this great quote that says, at these parties where business is done and money changes hands by the millions and billions, men get laid and women get screwed. And this is this very stark example of women that are trying to do what the men are doing. They're trying to play by the games. They're trying to be professional and work hard, and they just aren't able to succeed. Reason number 4 is reducing your blind spot. Diversity makes you safer, richer, and a nicer person. I learned this myself through my experience as a military intelligence officer, that the things we don't know that we don't know, the knowledge gaps, the blind spots, those are the most dangerous things. If you think about something really, really horrible that happened, like Pearl Harbor, for example, we couldn't have predicted it because we didn't know that the Japanese had the ability to get that far. Very simplified example of a very complex historical event, but you get the idea. The more you can reduce your blind spots, the less homogenous your group is, the more you're going to be able to predict possible outcomes and get closer to knowing the things that you don't know. And especially as we start moving into AI and robots and all these increasing interesting technology, it's going to become more and more important to have it all built by different people. The final reason is that women's equality is everyone's issue. It's not just a women's issue. And study after study has shown that when a minority group sits around and talks about their issue, while it helps them support each other, it doesn't actually help them move the needle. What we need is the men in power to understand this, the good guys out there to be on our side and to really understand what women are experiencing, what is keeping them out of tech. To wrap it all up, there's another phenomenal chapter at the end called Silicon Valley's Second Chance. And Emily Chang talks about how we're, as we're going into 2018, 2019, the desire for change in tech is palpable. The exclusion of women didn't have to be the story of how we got here, and it certainly doesn't need to be the future. There's a lot of really great suggestions about how Silicon Valley can change, the tech industry can change, and women can become more involved, bro culture can be reduced, and we can go forward into kind of a much more happy and balanced future with better cultures in our workplaces. So I definitely encourage you to read the book. I usually don't recommend professional books on audio, but this one is a phenomenal audio that was recorded by Emily Chang herself, who's of course a trained media reporter, and she's very, very great. So feel free to watch it in traffic. Once again, I'm Daniella Young. This is our weekly live stream from Cadmus HR. Cadmus HR is a virtual HR company that we started with the idea of bringing big business HR, making it available to small businesses. So everything that you usually would rely on an expensive in-house HR department or expensive consultants to do, we can help you do it virtually. We're building tech products all around this. So please feel free to check us out, schedule a call, and get involved to see what we can do for you. And again, you can follow me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I connect with everyone. You can follow me on Twitter at Daniella M. Young, and stay tuned for updates on my forthcoming book. All right, later. Have a great day.